Hello! Thank you for watching this video. During this little lecture, I'm going to introduce you to 3 simple little Excel VBA procedures that I've created to help us maintain and archive documents from within an Excel list. Now, before we jump in and take a look at the code and see what's actually happening here, I want to introduce you to the folder that I have located on my computer that stores a handful of Excel documents. So let me just pull this onto the screen here. Here it is. Nothing big. I've got a file or a folder called Excel Files, and in there you can see I have some files. They're all Excel documents, and I've got some subfolders. And these subfolders, perhaps, contain other Excel documents. So this is a nice little folder structure located down on my computer. So now, let me get rid of that. Back inside of Excel, I've created just again a little bit of VBA here that's going to populate this Excel document with all the documents that are located within that parent folder, Excel Files, and all of its subfolders as well. Take a look. I've tied it to this button here called Update Files. And when I give that a click, it takes all but a moment, and now I've got all the files from the top level folder and the subfolders. You can see here that I've gathered things like the file name, and I've gathered the file location. I can see some of them are located in the top level, and some of them are contained inside of subfolders, A, Archive, B, and C. And you'll also notice the 3 that are in the Archive folder, I've already marked them as being archived. We've identified, hey, these documents are already in the archive file, so let's mark them as such. The other ones, they are not. They're in the top folder or other subfolders, so they have not been archived yet. Now, what if I want to archive a file? Well, typically, I'd go back to the folder on my computer and I'd start moving stuff into the archive folder, right? Drag and drop, just moving them into there. Very manual, perhaps very time consuming. You've got hundreds, if not thousands of files that you're now trying to go through and archive. Now, rather than doing it manually, let's get Excel to do it for us. There's still a little bit of work that we need to do. We need to tell Excel which documents are going to be archived. Take a look. So I can hop into here and say, hey, let's say this file J, I want to archive that one. So I'm going to mark it as being archived. And let's grab another one here. Let's grab file E, which is inside the subfolder of C. Then I'm going to mark that one to be archived as well. Now, so I've marked them here inside of Excel. I'll now hit the button called Archive Files, which runs another procedure, just a simple little VBA procedure that will go through my list here, identify which ones I've marked to be archived, remember this option here, and it'll move them to the archive folder for me. So let's give that a click. Again, it takes just a moment. Those 2 files that I marked as being archived, E and J, are now been archived. They've been marked as yes, archived, and you can see that they've been moved to the archive folder. So I've identified it, I've told it which ones to be archived, I've hit the Archive Files button, and done. It's done it for me. If I were to go back here into my little folder explorer, let's see, that was J. I no longer see J out here, which was in the top level, but if I go into the archive folder, there it is, and there's E. Already moved for me. All automated through Excel. So like I said, this is done through just a little bit of Excel VBA, just 3 little procedures that I've created here, and they're relatively simple procedures. There's a few key concepts that we want to make sure we understand, things like variables and loops. These are going to be used all over the place in here, but if you understand those concepts, this is going to be a piece of cake for you. Take a look. I'm going to open up my VBA window here. And just a little shortcut key for you to be able to open up the VBA window. There's many ways to do it, but a quick, simple way to do it is to press the Alt key and F11. Alt F11. And this will open up your VBA window. So again, within my VBA window, I've got a module here called Module 1. I give that a double click, and this opens up all the code that has been created in order to perform these simple little tasks. So the first one, get files, a simple little procedure. This one really is the starting point. This is the one that goes out into the folder and the subfolders, grabs everything from there, or at least identifies it, and then passes that information into another procedure that does all the work for us, reading the content and so on. So it's called get files, the first little procedure here. Now, if you're going to run this on your own system, very important, there's a section here called file location that you want to update in between the quote marks there, your top level folder, your parent folder. This tells the VBA, the procedure, where your documents are located. So it does just a little bit in there. I've got it commented for you so you can see what's happening. But essentially, this creates what's called a file system object. I've called it FSO. And with this one, I can identify the folder location, which is the where the files are at. And it also makes a call to another procedure that does all the work of reading the files and populating the Excel document. This next little procedure is called list all files. And it's this one right here. Again, a simple little procedure. This creates a loop that goes through all the files within a folder, reads the content, and updates the appropriate values back onto the Excel document. This essentially creates the lists. Back up into the parent procedure, or the get all files procedure, it also creates a loop that allows it to run through all the subfolders, which also calls to the all files procedure, this guy back down here once again, and does the same thing. Reads all the contents of the subfolders and populates the Excel document. So the initial button that I had out there, let me just move my windows here, update files. This one really runs the get files, does all of its magic, runs the list all files procedure that then populates the Excel document with all the files from the parent and the subfolders. Now the archive file, this is a very magical button here, archive files. This one runs a procedure. It's a really simple procedure here, just a few little lines of code. Right here, archive files. This one goes through the Excel document, identifies which ones have been marked as archive. Remember that little drop down that I could pick the archive. It goes through and uses a single little line here, actually represented in 2 lines, that essentially renames the file. But when it renames the file, it also moves it to its new location. And then it updates that this file has been archived and where's it been archived to. So it's a really simple little loop with some logic in there, identifying the documents that have been marked for archiving, moves them, and then updates the records to denote, marking them as being archived and where they've been archived to. So 3 simple little procedures here. Again, make sure if you run this, you also need to update your file location inside the archive files place. This is your parent, your top level folder. You do it in the archive files procedure and inside of the get files procedure as well. Make sure you update that as well. Try this out. Leave a comment on the video on the little post here. Let me know how this works for you. And if you want some more flexibility and features, we can do that. With just a little bit of VBA, you can truly automate your experience inside of Excel.